Hey all, this is Joe. When I rewire this bike, I want to make sure that I run the electronics so that they sit in this pan right underneath. You can see there's already a cutout where this is going to fit. So the plan is going to be try and build a box so that the back and the front rests up against and it just slides in. So I've got a couple different sizes of steel. I'm going to start with the 22 gauge, which is a little bit thinner. It'll be a little bit easier to work with. And then we'll build a template and then cut it out. We'll bend the metal and see if we can get it to set in here nicely. So I think the tricky part is going to be figuring out how deep we want to make this, because I don't want it visible the best I can from underneath, but I do need to make sure that it's big enough so that all of the core electronic pieces can sit in there fine. So I'm going to start with the template and then we'll go from there. So it looks like it's 17, 26, and then 14. So I'll see if I can get all of the dimensions correct. Looks like a little under 95 degrees. Like here to here. All right, so I have the back and the front. It should be the correct dimensions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a straight line from here to here, and then I will cut down any of the metal that is sticking over where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now we've got the shape, and then I'll need to draw lines out depending on how deep I want this box. So I need to measure a couple of my components and make sure it's deep enough so that they fit inside. So one of the pieces is the regulator. So the regulator is one of the thicker pieces. So it looks like it needs to be at least 2.5 centimeters. That will mount here. And then I may have a little bit of a space when I have the when I have the seat on, but it's probably best to ensure I have a little bit of breathing room, especially with the bolts. So 4 centimeters may be a good depth for the box. And I need to check a couple other components. So here is the wiring harness. So just making sure this is the flasher relay. I know this is right around 4. So this is 3.5. So that should fit. Then there is the starter solenoid. Looks like that is bigger. So that is 5 centimeters, but I think the one I have is a little smaller. So I have a replacement starter solenoid. Let's see if this one is a little bit smaller. This one looks like it's about the same. So that requires 5 centimeters. Yeah, it would be nice if the seat had a little concave to it. That would give me a little more room, and then I wouldn't have to go as deep. But it does look like 5 centimeters is probably the right size. So I'll do right in the middle. So I'll do 4.5 centimeters. And I think I'll have a little bit of space between the top of the box and the seat. So I've drawn out the template, so I'm going to cut it out, and then I can do a test fit to see how it looks. All right, so we have a model of what our box could look like. So now we'll drop this in, and we'll see if all of our measurements and things look correct. It does look like it's the right dimensions, and then it will sit down a little lower than I would want, but it's not a huge issue because we could always do some things if we wanted to fill out the metal forwards and backwards. That way we had a better triangle, we could do that. All right, so now I have the template traced out on 22 gauge cold rolled steel. So this is weldable. So I'll make these cuts all the way around with the angle grinder, because that's the best thing I have to make these cuts. And then I will proceed to bend along these lines. Alright, so now that we have the metal cut out, I'm going to start bending along these lines the best I can. So again, I don't have all the proper tools to do this. Right, if I had a metal brake, that would be really nice. So I'm just going to do my best. And this metal's not real thick, so it's not difficult to bend. I'm just trying to keep everything as straight as possible. So I'll line this up right on the end of the table. And I'll put this bar steel over top. And I'll bend this down. Now I need to fold these sides in. We'll do it this way. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure what's bending is actually at the seam and not any of the other metal. I'm actually going to use the vise for this, because I think the vise will make this easier. This side bent okay. This side looks like I needed to bend a little bit more. Okay, let's try this side. Let's see if we can do the same thing again. Okay, so it looks like we could bend that side up a little more. So we do have a little bit of a gap right here. A little bit of a gap here. Some of these are a little bit closer. So we can always try bending a little bit more, but it would be good to test fit this now. So it looks like it's a good fit. That's good. So now I just have to bend down the front, the back to the right level, and then hopefully this will all sit flush. Okay, there's one side. we just need to do the same thing on this side. I'm just trying to leave a little bit of a gap because I would rather this sit more flush. Okay, so all the bending is done. So now we've got a box that can go onto the bike for the electronics. Let's do another test fit here. Remove this screw. This holds the gas tank in. All right, so we've got a good fit. So the box is sitting in there nicely. I will have to drill a bunch of holes in the front, in the back, and then this is where it sits down just a little bit. And we could always come up with something that sits across the front here. That way we have a nice triangle. But it looks like it's a good fit. Should be deep enough. All right, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. I'm going to continue to work on the CBX and see if we can get it to a good state. Take care.